I'm Kurt Fernley, former Paralympian, and on today's show, Dylan Alcott, we spoke with him before what may be his last Paralympic tennis match. But what sport could he be turning his hand to next? And if you thought a 30-minute podcast was good, we're probably going to go 45. So strap yourself in, kids. It's going to be a ride.
I'm Georgie Tunney, ABC sports reporter and official timekeeper here at You Little Ripper. So if we go over 45, Kurt Fernley, I'm going to have to pull the plug. 45, hard out. Hard out for us.
I don't believe you at all, Georgie.
You're right. I would definitely not do that. I would let us talk for 3 hours. We, as always, are broadcasting from Wurundjeri country. Kurt, we're getting down to the pointy end of the Paralympics now, the penultimate day of action. But before we preview what is ahead, let's get reflective. Let's look back. My You Little Ripper moment in the past 24 hours happened on the water, not in the water. It's not the Dolphins. Happened on the water, and it's Curtis McGrath, the gold medal.
What an absolute legend. He is just becoming the symbol of the Paralympic movement. Yeah. The way that he speaks, the way that he holds himself, he really does have a special place in the Paralympic family itself. But I think externally, he is going to be one of the faces, one of the names, one of the stories that the Australian public really attached to this movement.
Mm-hmm. And they already do. They're already resonating with him. Again, yesterday, watching his final in the 200-metre KL2, everyone stopped who I was around, everyone watched, and everyone cheered, and he won. I'm going to say convincingly, because 200 metres isn't it's a long distance if you were canoeing and if you were kayaking and going your absolute hardest. But in terms of the distance, 1 metre may as well be 100 metres. Look, if we scale it, he won very convincingly.
Well, 1 inch is 100 metres.
Yes.
When you're talking about a Paralympic gold medal that's on the line. It was an amazing event. And considering the drama-filled qualification rounds, he came out in the semi, he smashed it. He broke a Paralympic record. He came back out and he just performs again and again. And it's exciting that we get to see him one more time. But that's for later in the show. So we're going to touch on that. But also just a really quick shout out before we get your You Little Ripper moment, Kurt. Susan Seipel, she won silver yesterday as well in the VAR 200-metre VL2 final. My You Little Ripper moment from the last 24 hours, it goes to the men's 4x100-metre relay team. Timothy Hodge, Timothy Diskin, Will Martin and Ben Popham. But we did find Timothy Diskin lost his mother in the last 72 hours. I can't imagine processing that. I can't imagine going through that so far away from the rest of his family. But it was so beautiful to see his Paralympic family almost holding him up.
Yes.
Will Martin with his arms around Disco's back, and you could see he was rubbing him on the back, consoling him as he was speaking about his mum, Jenny. And that is what we see,
It was a bit of I've got you, I'm here, keep going.
Yeah. It was literally holding his teammate up, holding his friend up so he could speak about the loss and speak about the moment that he was in. That was amazing. And of course here I know that we would also, and so would the entire Paralympic family and the Australian family, pass out our love and best wishes to Timothy Diskin's family and friends and community. That is a huge loss, but I'm sure that Jenny would be so proud of her son, of how he speaks, of who he is, of what he does, and our love and thoughts go out to the entire community around him.
And he just happened to win a silver medal for you, Jenny, last night. So that was so, so beautiful. The team itself, we know I'm obsessed with the Dolphins, but what a performance to end the meet for the Dolphins. Like, it was the final night in the pool and the 4x100 medley relay. It was honestly probably one of the best races that we have had over the entire Paralympics. And just this team, you mentioned them, Hodge, Diskin, Martin, Popham. Superstars. And they're going to be household names, which I love.
And a huge part of that team, I think Disco's the oldest, and he's like 25 years old.
Oh, really?
The best of the rest. I'm going straight to James Jimmy Turner.
Oh, yeah.
He was amazing in the heats of the men's 100-metre T36. He got out of the blocks in the
Yep.
way that Jimmy does. He's
Amazing start.
he has an incredible start, and then he accelerated all the way past the rest in his heat, and then he just switched off. And
I was talking to you, Kurt, and I do liken Jimmy Turner, the enjoyment I get watching Jimmy Turner race, to what I get when I used to watch Usain Bolt race, because they just have that style that you can't look away from. And halfway through this race, you can see the moment where Jimmy just goes, I'm just going to start cruising now. Like, I'm just going to chill for a bit, and then just like crosses, still first, still Paralympic time. But by his own admission in the post-race interview, he was jogging for 50 metres of that race.
that was amazing. When he got asked, how do you think, and what do you think about getting a Paralympic record? He goes, seriously?
He's like, really?
What?
I was jogging. Like, I love him so much, and he meant it. Like, he wasn't there joking. He was like, oh, I was jogging. Oh, okay, great. This means the final's looking good.
He won't have it all his way. There was a second heat that also went really
Very
fast, but
fast.
not quite as fast as Jimmy, the Usain Bolt Turner.
Yes.
He nailed that race. I can't wait to see him in the final today. But there wasn't the only action at the track. Rhiannon Clark made it through to the women's 400-metre T38 final. And that, again, her finish in the last 50 metres where she just
Kicks.
chased down her competition to qualify. It's her first Paralympic Games. She's a silver medalist at the Commonwealth Games. She's a bronze medalist at the World Championships. But now she is a Paralympic finalist.
And I just love her because, again, her making the final is the biggest achievement for her. She was so ecstatic after the race. And there was a noticeable kick, probably the last 30 metres, where she just chased down everyone in front of her to finish fourth, I think, in that heat to progress through to the final. But again, in the post-match interview, like, how'd that go? And she's like, well, I did think in that final straight, you better start running a bit faster here. Better start running a bit faster. And then she bloody did. Like, to be able to think that, but then actually do it, that blows my mind, because I'm always like, you better just keep running just for a little second here before you take off. And then I'm like, I can't breathe anymore. I have to stop.
Yeah, her interview was a joyful interview. She was so happy to make that final. And this is, I'm sure that she sees this as a stepping stone for another Games, another Coms, another World Champs. And it's just that continual reinvention of the Paralympic community. She will be a superstar.
Best of the rest. Now, I have a sneaking suspicion, Kurt Fernley, given your adoration for a few table tennis gods, as we've called them on the podcast, that our table tennis team finals may get a mention here.
The table tennis gods, they continue to grow. 2 more silver medals in the teams events. I've got to give a shout out to Marlene, Joel Coughlin, Nathan Pelazar in the men's, and Lee Nale and Yang Chen in the women's, and Millie Tapper was the reserve as well. But it was, look, it is by far our most successful table tennis team that we've ever sent away. That was just such an amazing performance. And again, I just love our team, the diversity of who it is within it, 60,000 years of heritage represented, as well as our newest arrivals. And they will be one of my highlights for the entire Paralympic Games. It's been incredible.
I have another best of the rest, a little bit left of centre. It's an athlete which I know you know, Kurt, but I didn't know Ntando Malangu until this event in Tokyo 2020. I should have, but I didn't know of him. He won the 200 metres T61 last night final, but he'd also previously at Tokyo 2020 won the long jump T63. Now, he's a double amputee. He runs on blades. And why I loved him, yes, the race itself was amazing. Again, kicks in the last 20 metres because it's wet conditions, remember, as well. So it can be a little bit extra tricky, especially on blades, to make sure that you do have that sure footing. But in that last 20 metres, he just ran over the top of Richard Whitehead, who is a star for Great Britain. He won gold in the 200 metres in this event in London. He also did in Rio. Malangu was in Rio. He got the silver medal. At 19 years of age, though, now, this is a 2-time gold medalist at a Paralympic Games from this meet, and his blades tell the story. So in the long jump, he wore blades, which had been painted white, and they had the logo that said arigato because he had dedicated that performance to the Japanese people for hosting the Paralympics. And then last night, he had these incredible looking legs that were all carved and painted with symbols of his culture from South Africa. And I just thought it was so wonderful to see his passion, visibly see it.
A superstar of the movement.
Yeah.
It kind of came to notoriety through the Rising Phoenix documentary, which if you have not seen, you have to watch it. It's on Netflix. Look, there are a thousand amazing stories. He's one. He's beautiful, and his gratitude to the Japanese people, to the organising committee who have actually been able to nail this. It is touching. It is amazing. But we had another great day out at paracycling. It was some tough conditions. Look, Paige Greco, she got a bronze medal, and in the great Alistair Donohoe, take a bow.
Yes.
The reversed lion's mane, the mullet, the mighty myth of the mighty mullet.
Yes.
He would get fifth in the road race as well. But the way he spoke about that, he as soon as he was done, he said, "I love racing. Didn't work out today." He crashed. He slid out twice. He got back up. He chased the peloton. He rejoined them, but the fatigue of that got to him in the end. But even though it wasn't the race that he wanted, the first time he was brought down by the same athlete that brought him down in the final 50 metres of Rio in 2016. It was hard to even think that would be possible, but he spoke about how much that's just racing.
Yeah.
You know, you turn up there in the best shape and it may not work out for you. That's the beauty of a Paralympic gold medal, because it's so rare and it's so hard to get. That's why it is celebrated so much. But we have to celebrate an amazing, fun, competitive, fierce, bloody cracking, you little ripper of a bloke.
Yeah, and he dedicated that win to his mate who died by suicide a couple of months ago, his friend Will. So, Alistair, we are with you. We love what you are doing. Kurt, I have to deviate just from our best of the rest for a second, because in racing, when things don't go right, so if we take, what happened to Donohoe yesterday, slipping out a couple of times, having to get back on the bike. When things aren't going your way in a race, how do you mentally overcome them so that you can physically continue to perform to your best?
If you fall, if things go sideways, you just remind yourself of what you can do to take control of that moment. There's 1,000 things that you can't control. There's 2 or 3 things that you can.
Yeah.
One is you just pick up and start pedaling. Make sure the bike's right. The simple things. And then it's just you create this voice in who you are, and you just scream it internally, Like, I've crashed races. When you get back up, there's a lot of pain pumping through your system, but you can create a little space where you push that pain down or to the side, and you just create this voice that's just screaming at you to keep going. And it does work for a limited period of time, but it can be hard to stretch that over the hour required of a race.
What our cyclists were able to do on Mount Fuji this week with those conditions, hats off to them. It was incredible.
The wheelchair tennis god, the winner of everything, the gold, the silver, the everything in between, Dylan Alcott, welcome to the show.
Kurt, G, I've been waiting to get my call up for Australia's hottest podcast.
I've loved watching you on the court. I've watched more of your tennis over the last 2 weeks than I have been able to over 10 years. It's been amazing. But the thing that stands out to me right now is how much you seem to be enjoying the game and the context that you're setting everything in. That you can see the young talent. You can see the entire movement in front of you. Is that the way it is?
100%. This is the first time I've actually felt like the old man out there. And in my semi-final against Niels, I played a guy, he's literally almost half my age. And, he, similar to, I guess, what you were like for me, Kurt, in a way. Like, when I first popped up, I came to you and I was like, mate, I want to work on the speaking circuit. I want to advocate. I want to train hard. And you helped me the same way that Niels, when he was 13, read my book. 14, I sent him a video for his 18th birthday to say happy birthday and stuff like that. And he wanted to rip my head off on the court. And I love that. Like, he brought it to me. And, there an element of changing of the guards. I'm not gone just yet, but I wanted to play the best, to be the best. I wanted to get pushed. And you know, I love what the Paralympic represents more, more so than what it represents for sport, and to see the next generation of young athletes coming through. How bloody good has our Australian team interviews been after their competition? Like, I'm redundant. You are redundant, Kurt. We are done. They don't need us anymore. Like, every single winner, from bronze to gold to even people who don't medal, what they're saying on TV, I'm like, this is incredible. And I'm proud, mate. I'm just proud. I'm proud to be part of it. I'm proud to be a very, very small cog involved in it. You know what I mean? And just where the sport is, the Paralympics is going, the eliteness of the competition, but also what is getting said afterwards has blown my mind, mate. And yeah, just a privilege to be part of it.
Look, I'm going to jump in before Georgie does and just say, to clear this up, I am clinging to relevancy with my fingernails. So don't write this old dog off. I'm clawing my way to the glory that what they're doing over there.
But I'll be there with you in Paris. We'll be on the desk together, and no one will know what we look like, who's who. That's really going to blow some minds then. Don't worry about that.
It'll be like a convention. Everyone will be like, wait, I understood there were one, but now there's two. What is this? What is this?
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, Dill, what do you actually put that change and that growth of the Paralympics movement, but also recognition in the wider community here in Australia, and how has that then helped the younger generation of Paralympians that you're seeing? What are you putting that all down to?
Well, it first and foremost is the generation before me and the generation before Kurt and the generation before that, because we got, I fully appreciate that I am one of the extreme lucky few, Kurt, you as well, who have made it in the mainstream, right? And all we want is that to trickle down to the current and next generation of athletes to come, because that's what they deserve. That's what the generation before us deserved, and the generation before that. And without the work that people did, we aren't here doing what we're doing right now. We aren't live on TV for 16 hours a day. We don't have podcasts like this. We don't have sponsors. We don't have the recognition of the Australian public. And it first and foremost comes back to the work that people have done tirelessly for years and years before these games. But I will say the buy-in from the Australian public has been pretty special. And it's what we always dreamt of happening, knew could happen, but did you really think it would happen? I'm not sure, but it's happened, right? And that, look, I get goosebumps talking about it, because the day that it happened for me personally, 2017, I was like, this is all I ever dreamt of, because it gave me personally the platform to talk about what I'm most passionate about, which is not sport. It's changing perceptions so people with disability can live the lives they deserve to live, right? And sport gave me that platform to do it. And the Paralympics was the biggest factor of that. It wasn't Grand Slam tennis. It was the Paralympic Games. And, to be honest, the younger generation of athletes who are here, who I'm learning about the same way that you guys are learning about right now, what they are saying is blowing my mind. Like, things that I wish I had in my back catalogue that I was saying. I might steal some of the stuff that they're saying. Better than my gear. You know what I mean? Like, Maddie De Rosario won her race, and what she said about, obviously the Paralympics is great, but not every person with a disability can be a Paralympian, right? And everybody deserves the right to not have to advocate for reasons why they deserve to be who they are and why they deserve a space in the room. And I was like, that is unbelievable words, what she said, right? To normalise our whole community, not just if you're a sensational sports person, right? And that's what is special to me, is that, of course, we're seeing elite sport and it's changing the perceptions of athletes with a disability. But what I want is to change the perceptions of all people with disabilities, because there are so many people out there with incredible skill sets who are not getting the opportunity to do what they want to do, whether they are lawyers, doctors, mums, dads, teachers, educators, politicians, whatever it is, right? And hopefully the Paralympics is a bit of a beacon to change perceptions for the wider community of people with a disability, not just in Australia, but all around the world, And we have it pretty lucky in Australia in some areas, to be honest. And you see some of the other athletes from other countries who have it really tough. Look at the work that we did to get the whole community did to get the Afghanistani athletes in. Like, I almost cried when I saw that. I did nothing. That wasn't me. That was Kurt, you, and the board, and everybody else. And I just almost swore. I just effing love the Paralympic Games. I can't tell you how much I love it. And you saw me tear up after my semi-final win because I just almost swore again. I just bloody love it. I love it so much. And I almost lost and I was almost gone. And I somehow found a way to win and I'm still going. And I got another opportunity to go out on that court and be a Paralympian,
But I totally agree. I couldn't agree more. If you put all zeros in that medal tally, the impact on the community remains the same, I think. Sure that it's more complex and the impact spreads wider because of the exceptional performances in the sport, but the way they've crossed the community, the way they've landed on the telly in a post-race interview, on its own merit has been sensational. But we've got to talk tennis as well. So how do you describe the quad doubles final, that silver medal? What does that performance mean to you?
Yeah, we were obviously bummed, first and foremost. We got pumped. They smashed us. And credit to them. They're an 18 and a 21-year-old kid who just took it to the Paralympic champions and smashed us. So it was impressive. I've got to give them props. We didn't execute the way that we wanted to, but obviously I'm still proud of a silver medal. In a two-horse race, sometimes it's hard to realise you've won gold. You feel like you've lost gold. Won silver, you feel like you've lost gold. But I will be proud of it for sure one day. It's still a great achievement, that's for sure. And I'm just really proud that I get to play with my best mate, Heath, as well. And, we probably didn't have the best day. And afterwards he said, sorry. I said, mate, you got nothing to apologise for. Win, lose or draw, I could not give a shit about how you played. You're still my best mate. And it was just an honour to be able to play Paralympic tennis with my best mate. You probably didn't get the opportunity to do that with your best mate, Kurt, because you don't play a team sport like that. He's literally my best mate. Like, who gets that? No one. Nobody ever. So win, lose or draw, I'm so bloody proud of him. And he's had a tough life, Heater. And, tennis saved his life the same way that it saved mine. And we met when I was 10 years old. He was 14. I was sponsored by Doritos. I was so fat. And he was sponsored by Macca's. So we were both these kids who hated ourselves, and we found sport, and it was so cool. So, still a great experience. I'll tell you what I am. I am tired and I am sore. I am an old man. I am cooked. So, the singles final was supposed to be, last night after the doubles. It was going to be at midnight because they had a scheduling issue. I was like, what are you doing? You can't put us on at midnight. And they came to their senses, which is now 10 a.m. local time Saturday morning here, which is 11 a.m. in Australia, Australian Eastern Standard Time on Saturday morning, which is prime time, lockdown time, I've been told. So, very excited to get out there and hopefully make everybody proud.
There's a possibility that this is your last game in the green and gold, the last game as a Paralympian. What's going to be going through your head when you take the court?
You're trying to get the scoop. You work for the Daily Mail now, do you?
I've trained him well, Dill. I've trained him well.
I'm going to enjoy it for what it is, which is an opportunity that I've trained my whole life for, right? And I am the luckiest guy in the world to live the life that I live. And the Paralympics has been a special place in probably the reason I am who I am. And it saved my life. It did. I hated myself so much as a kid, and it gave me everything. And so I'm going to sit there, look around and think to myself, how bloody good is this? Because, I'm so lucky. And I think if you are grateful for those moments, you can perform better, right? And you know what? I want to win more than anything. But if I don't, the sun will come up. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend will still love me. You'll both still be my friend, and I'll be all right, But I'm going to try and win. I'm going to try and do my best. But the only expectation I can have on myself is to be the best version of Dylan every time I go out there. And you know what? I'm going to do everything in my power to do that. And if that means winning, well, that's incredible. But what I will do, I'll look down at the holes on my shirt and think about how bloody lucky I am to be here at the moment. And, hopefully it turns out the right way. But win, lose or draw, mate, I'm going to absolutely have a crack and looking forward to the opportunity.
We'd expect absolutely nothing less from you, Dylan. And we've been saying on the podcast the whole time, I know it's taken us a few episodes to get you on, but we have been saying every single show, make sure you're watching Dylan every single second you can, because we're not sure how much longer we're going to get to see him. Dylan, We have a little segment here called Fast Five where we ask you 5 quick fire answered questions. Are you ready to play?
Fast Five.
I didn't even know, just for everyone listening, these aren't set up. I don't know what they are. All right? Coming in, all right?
All right. What do you wish you had in the village but you can't get?
Beers for when you finish.
What's your superstition? Have you got any?
The same song every time I roll into the court. The Wu-Tang Clan's Protect Your Neck. My favourite rap song of all time. Everybody go listen to it for me in the morning so I can feel the energy.
What's your all-time favourite Paralympic moment?
At the Beijing Paralympic Games, I saw a swimmer from China eating his fried rice using chopsticks with his feet. He also swims the 100-metre backstroke in just over 1 minute and 20 seconds with no arms. It absolutely, to this day, was the coolest thing I've ever seen and changed my own perception of how I view people with disability. I didn't take that as inspirational. I just thought that it was the most impressive thing that I've ever seen.
I want to know, because I've quizzed Kurt about this before too, what are your feelings about being called an inspiration or being called or referred to as inspirational? How do you take it?
Roger Federer is inspirational because he won lots of Grand Slams. If you're calling me inspirational because I'm good at tennis, very lovely. Go for it. If you're calling me inspirational because I'm in a wheelchair and I've happened to have myself a life, a pretty good life, that's bogus, right? You've got higher expectations on us than just living. So the sport accolades and that can be inspirational, but me having a, awesomely talented, good-looking girlfriend is not inspirational. That's just me being me, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense. Love it. And that's exactly what Kurt said too. Question number 4. Who's your favourite teammate? I have a sneaking suspicion we know who it is, but who's your favourite teammate?
I mean, he'll stab me with a knife if I don't say Heath Davidson. He'll be the end of me. So I'm going to go with Heath Davidson. I'm also a big Dan Michelle guy. I love the boccia.
Yes.
I'm pretty happy for my return serviceman legend, Curtis McGrath, for winning gold. Very pumped for him. Considering he almost went out of the freaking lane yesterday.
Oh.
Mate, if you weren't a wheelchair tennis player or basketball or gold medalist, what event would you be in?
Oh, I've got pretty long arms, small legs, and I look like a famous ex-marathon guy. So we're less than each other. If I'm going to come back in anything, because I've already done the basketball and done the tennis, I would do Winter Olympics curling.
You know what? I know 2 people that are looking for a teammate. Riley Batt, Denny DeToro, they chose that. We've got the 3rd member.
There you go. That's us. Imagine us. We would be so shit.
Hey, Dylan.
I was just going to say, if you guys had a curling team, whenever they were like, okay, quiet please, because the competition's begun, quiet please, between you, Danny and Riley, there would never be any silence on the curling arena.
I don't want to knock the curling team at the moment, but you could drink beers and eat macas and do curling, couldn't you? Surely. I wouldn't be, we wouldn't be, mean, I've seen Riley as a kid. We wouldn't be peak fitness, man, rise. That's large. I reckon if we started curling.
Mate, thanks for joining us on the show. Good luck. We're cheering for you. We're behind you, as is the country. Regardless of whether we see you in another one, another Paralympics or not, I'm grateful that we've had you in the ones you're there so far. So thanks for your time, mate, and keep ripping in.
Thank you, legends. And to everybody listening, we really appreciate as a team, everybody getting behind us. And to tell you what, remember the names. Remember the names of all the Paralympians you've seen these 2 weeks, because you're going to be seeing a lot more of them, that's for sure.
Nobody wears this green and gold as proudly, as fiercely, with as much determination as our next guest. We all had our heart in our mouth where we saw Carol Cook in the road race slip and fall. I don't know how to explain it. The entire nation gasped. Yes. Carol's already got a silver medal in the time trial. She is already a multiple gold medalist from previous games. Mm-hmm. She is wonderful. She is amazing. She is fierce. And it's so great to have her on the show. Carol, welcome to You Little Ripper.
Thank you.
Carol, our heart was in our mouth. When we saw you slide on the road, the whole nation took a gasp. How are you?
Look, it's funny. You know how you go to the gym, and it might have been a while, and you do a really hard session, and you're fine the day after. But then day 2, you feel like all those DOMs set in. You'd know what that's like, Kurt.
Yeah.
Well, today I feel like a bus has hit me. But in saying that, the lungs are really good. I'm looking at my monitor here. I've got them to turn it around to me, and I'm at 100% fat, so I'm pretty happy about that.
What are some of the injuries that you got in that crash?
I hit the deck at about 40k an hour, and I knew it was happening, and I guess I just tried to stay as floppy as possible, not brace myself, because I saw it happening, and the words OF came in my head, and I knew it was going to happen. There was nowhere I could go. And I wasn't even sure. I knew I'd been entangled in a bike. I thought it was mine, but it happened to be Marie Eve. And I don't know if you saw the footage. I tried to get up and fix her chain because I thought it was mine. But I guess injuries, like there's some skin off, but it's not huge. Some skin off my knees. I whacked the barriers with my leg, and that's where they thought I might have fractured my tibia, but I haven't. They thought my ribs were broken or fractured, but nothing's showing up on the x-ray. They think that the lung was damaged just by the sheer force of hitting the ground. And I tell you, it just goes to show that helmets save lives, because I bounced on my head. This proves that I've got concrete for a head. And I had no head injury whatsoever. I was lucid the whole time. I got lots of bruises and some skin off my arms, but that's it. And I need to buy a lottery ticket, because I'm probably the luckiest person in the world right now.
Carol, I love how you say that's it. We're so thankful and thank the universe that you are okay and you are able to speak to us right now, because Australia is really hoping that you have a really speedy recovery. We can't wait for you to get back here when you do. What was it like for you just trying to get back on the bike? Because this all happened, but then the next scenes of the vision, you're getting back on your trike and you are trying to finish the race. What was going through your head?
Well, to be honest, the first thing that went through my head was that my family in Canada, my mum is 85, they were all watching this live. My husband was in Melbourne watching this live, and my Aussie mum was in Wodonga watching this live. And I lay on the ground, and I didn't realize how long I was there for till I saw the vision. But I kept thinking, just get up, because they're going to be worried. And I think the adrenaline was pumping to the point where I didn't really feel any pain. And I just wanted to get up to show them I was okay. I didn't want my mom having a heart attack. As it was, my sister said that, as soon as it happened, she screamed. My mom screamed and burst into tears. And, I've since talked to them, and mom's fine. But I just wanted to and then I thought, I can finish this. That was the big heading just coming in. But as soon as I started to climb the hill, I knew there was no way. I thought I had fractured a rib. I've had rib fractures before, and that's all I thought it was. I didn't realize that, I needed my lung reinflated. But so the climb was really hard, and I had to ride about 9 kilometers to get back to the pits. And as I got to the top of the climb, I just thought, well, don't be stupid, just go in, And the first thing I did when I got in was look at one of our coaches, Nick Formosa, and I said, please grab my phone and send messages. That's all I care about right now. Just let them know I'm okay. So that was the impetus for getting back on the bike, to be honest.
My God, you are the toughest person that I know.
Yep.
I'm changing my Twitter profile. It's going to say, I'm friends with the toughest person in the world. That story, that's got goosebumps. I want to give you a hug. I want to say thank you. Look, I need to also congratulate you on that road time trial in the T1, T2, the silver medal. Look, that was celebrated. You've given us some amazing moments over this last 11 days. How do you reflect on that race?
On the time trial, look, I gave everything I had in that, and I'm really proud of what I accomplished. I'm happy that Jana won, because if anybody was to win, I would want it to be her, if it wasn't me, obviously. Jana has been around the cycling scene since she was very young, and she was on the cycling team before I came on, so 10 years. And she has always been the bridesmaid. There was me and Marie Eve, the Canadian, who actually was the one who crashed in front of me. We were on the scene and pushed her into third. Then Jill Walsh and myself were on the scene and pushed her into third. And so always having been the bridesmaid, it was really good. And I was really happy to see her stand on the top step. I then found out, you want stories from the games, I then found out that Angelica, who came third in the time trial, her husband died 4 weeks ago. And she was here riding in his memory. So for her to actually get on a bike and ride, to me, is, I don't know if I would have been able to do that. And I just think that was an incredible feat herself. So there's, I couldn't have done anything else, and I'm proud of that silver medal. And, I was hoping that I would be back on that podium on Thursday, but as my sister said to me in a message, she said, well, you've got unfinished business, and Paris is only 3 years away.
Carol, we are so proud of you. Again, every part of that race, I feel for what happened, but I'm in disbelief. I don't know how to tell your story. It's been just beautiful, and I'm so happy that you are considering Paris. That is great. But
hang on, Kurt. Like I said, my sister said that. Let's just take a year let's just take a year at a time right now. We'll see how I pull up from this.
Nah, Carol, you're locked in. We've locked you in.
Yeah.
Sorry. Your sister and Kurt and I have locked you in for Paris, so that's written in stone now.
We might give you till you get out of hospital to confirm it.
Maybe.
But that's
Okay,
it.
thanks for that.
Hey, Carol,
maybe you want to check with my husband.
Outvoted. That's three.
Yeah, sorry, we've got the numbers.
Carol, I know that you've been through some pretty hard moments in your career over the last couple of weeks, but we've got the hardest moment, no doubt, that you're ever going to approach. And this is the segment on You Little Ripper that's called
Fast Five.
Don't make me laugh, because that does hurt.
Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
seriously.
Actually, that's really bad. We can't make Carol laugh.
No.
It's going to be tough. We're
Hey,
hilarious, Carol. We're hilarious.
We think we are. Carol, what do you wish that you had in the village but you can't get?
I could use a glass of red wine right now, mind you.
Okay. Carol, what's your superstition?
Well, I have one superstition. I wear the same socks for every time trial. I've been wearing the same. I keep them specially for my time trials, and I've been wearing them since pre-Rio. And they've worked so far, except they didn't get me the gold this time. But
They're
it
still
got
pretty
me on the
handy.
podium. So that,
Yep.
yeah, they're socks that a girlfriend that I ride with and train with gave me, and yeah, they're my time trial socks. So it's a good thing they get hidden under boots because they actually don't match. They're yellow, but they got purple stripes, so they kind of don't match the outfit.
It's a lot more family friendly than my Lucky Undies. So I'm gonna praise the Lucky Socks. What is your all-time favourite Paralympic moment?
It was on the road race day this year when my teammate Stu Jones knew he wasn't going to podium, and he rode with Tony Mould, who's a T1 South African female cyclist that I've been coaching for the last 3 to 4 months to get here. And I had actually said to her before the road race that if she didn't want to do the whole thing, because I knew she would get lapped, that if she didn't want to do the whole thing, she didn't have to. She could stop. And she looked at me and she said, I will be finishing. And she was struggling up that last climb. It was 3 kilometers long. And Stu Jones stopped his race because he knew it wasn't going to podium. And he rode beside her, encouraging her up that climb the whole way to the finish line. And she sent me a message from the airport and said, Carol, your teammate has done something that I will never, ever forget. So please thank him for me. And I said to her, I said, well, Tony, there's one thing that you did here that I didn't do. And she said, what was that? And I said, you finished. And she said, well, I would have, she said, I would have rather had both of us finish. But that moment to me is the epitome of what these Paralympic Games are about. You know, we all strive for the medals, and we all want to hit that top podium, but it's not about the medals. It's about the encouragement and the partaking by people who have such severe disabilities. I mean, she was told for years she would never amount to anything or do anything because her CP was so bad. She lives in a wheelchair. She can't communicate verbally very well. She has a carer, but put her on a trike, and she said it's like freedom. And that's what these games mean. So that moment for me will be the moment in history. And I've sent you a message to just say thank you for what you did.
Oh, goosebumps, Carol. That was one of our favourite moments of the games. We've spoken about it on the podcast previously too, so that's so wonderful. And you're just an absolute legend. Back to the Fast Five. Question number 4. Who's your favourite teammate?
I would have to say Paige Greco. Paige and I spent all of July together in Brisbane, and I love her. I love her like a daughter. Well, she's more than half my age, I might add. I think I'm older than her mom. But yeah, I do. I love her like a daughter, and she's just wonderful.
Carol, if you weren't a Paralympic cyclist, what event would you be in?
I probably wouldn't have given up rowing if things had gone the right way with administration and stuff back then. So yeah, I'd probably be a rower.
Oh, Carol, we cannot thank you enough for joining us on You Little Ripper from your hospital bed. We wish you the speediest of recoveries. We congratulate you for your silver medal and what you've been able to achieve over your Paralympic career.
Love your work. We're headed back to the track. Reed McCracken, he got a 6th in the 800 metres today. We've also got Nicholas Hum, Daniel Bounty, Dion McKenzie, Samantha Schmidt, Rhiannon Clark. It is an action-packed day at the National Stadium.
The archery is also on once again. I've been really enjoying this competition at the Paralympics. Australia is in the mixed team archery elimination final against Poland. That's happening this morning. Taekwondo, Janine Watson is going to take on Rajay Akamak of Morocco in round 16.
And if you haven't seen Janine kick the crap out of Riley back, search it and you're welcome.
Really? This is searchable. This is searchable content.
This is a must-search event. They were messing around on camera. Riley's all padded up and he goes, all right, I want to feel your kick. And Janine comes in with the kick and kicks him off the box that he was sitting on. It is must-see TV. He handles the kick better than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson because that's Riley "The Rock" Bat.
Oh, well, I know what I'm doing as soon as I'm out of this studio. Kurt, again, we've come to the end of another episode. This is the penultimate day of Paralympics action. It's the penultimate day of You Little Ripper for the Tokyo 2020 edition. And if you are loving it, please keep letting us know. And also go back, re-listen to the episodes and say which parts of it you really liked. We love all the reviews, all the feedback when they're positive. So keep giving it to us.
You've got 5 hours in that back catalogue, so jump on board. Replay it. It's like spending a day with me and Georgie. Who wouldn't want that?
We're taking applications to join us in the studio. We are not, however, we do want to know what you think of You Little Ripper. So as always, make sure that you're connecting with us on Twitter. Hashtag You Little Ripper, hashtag YLR, tag at ABC Sport, tag me at Georgie_Tunny, and this guy.
Me, Kurt Fernley.
We'll be back soon.